Sports build champions and leaders, but every champion has moments of struggle, pressure, anxiety, burnout, and those moments deserve real support. PAX Health is proud to sponsor the New Jersey Lacrosse podcast because they believe mental health care should be available when you need it, as you need it. Therapy and psychiatric services for kids, teens, communities, and families. Telehealth and in-person appointments are available within 48 hours. PAX Health, people helping people. Visit pax.health. That's PAX.health. Lacrosse families, meet Orgo, the calendar app that actually thinks like a sports parent. Orgo syncs with team apps you already use and enriches schedules with real-world logistics. Every event shows travel times, early arrival buffers, carpool assignments, conflict alerts, and time-specific weather so you know what gear to pack. Get your athletes on it too. Orgo teaches time literacy, an executive skill for life. One subscription, whole family. Code LAX25 is 25% off. Just $44 locks in sanity for the whole year. Visit www.orgohq.com. That's www.orgohq.com. JAG Physical Therapy, providing rehabilitative recovery from sports and soft tissue injuries to knee, foot, ankle, hip, shoulder, elbow, and back injuries. Schedule your appointment with JAG Physical Therapy today and meet their experienced team of physical therapists, occupational therapists, athletic trainers, and exercise physiologists invested in your full recovery. Get back the life you love at JAG Physical Therapy, the most awarded physical therapy provider in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, just visit jagpt.com. That's JAGPT.com. This is the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Glock.
I'm Bill Farr.
I'm Anthony Terranova.
And this here is Gil Swenson. Welcome to the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast. Welcome in, everybody. Episode 11 of the 2026 season. May the 4th, 2026. Whole squad in attendance today on what is sure to be I think it's a historic day in New Jersey High School Lacrosse, whether things go the way we want it to or not. Boys, how we doing?
Doing well. Can't believe we've had 11 episodes. We're grooving.
It's my first back-to-back weeks in a while. Happy to be here.
You should be applauded. You should be applauded. Thanks for doing the minimum. Good job.
Thank you.
Tharp,
May the 4th be with you all.
That is, I forgot about
Happy
that.
National Star Wars Day.
Good call. Good call on that. And I guess the date, as I alluded to, will lead us right into our opening face-off for this week. And I'm going to take control of it again, keep it with myself right off the opening whistle, and talk about what is going on today in the state of affairs and the state of New Jersey, high school lacrosse. And that is, today is the day, if you're listening to this on Monday, May the 4th, that the general membership committee of the NJSIAA votes on the shot clock. So we will know in short order whether or not there will be shot clocks in the state of New Jersey in 2028, not 2027. And guys, I think the opening face-off here is relevant to talk about the shot clock again, not because it's just the day of the vote, but there's info out there that I'm regretful that we didn't tackle earlier, because I think there's like misnomers out there that this is an all-encompassing thing for all of lacrosse. It is for basketball. The votes are not in any way connected to each other, but there is a vote for whether basketball is going to have a shot clock, and that would apply to boys and girls basketball. And there is a completely separate, unconnected vote for boys lacrosse only shot clocks. Okay? And I feel like based on the NJ.com posts and maybe some of the comments, that people don't understand that all these things are not one vote. They're not tied together. Okay, so at this point, I don't know that there's more messaging that we could get out, but I guess whenever the vote does come out, it's good to be informed about whatever did happen. So everything is independent. We can cross our fingers and go from here. But I think that we've made it pretty clear from the four of our opinions that a shot clock in boys high school lacrosse in the state of New Jersey and around the country is a positive thing. Is it going to be perfect? Of course not. Are there going to be mistakes along the way? Are we going to need the help of a lot of people whenever this does get passed? And it will get passed at some point, just maybe not on the timeline that we want it to if it doesn't pass today. But everybody's got to be okay with that. And I think if you are going to say, look at what a disaster it is every time there's a shot clock error, whenever we do bring this in, that's just, there's going to be haters all the time, and that's just not how things go. So here's to fingers crossed, guys. That's what I have for you today. I'm hoping a prayer on Star Wars Day.
If it didn't go through today, Keith, we might have touched on this before, but would it go up again next year, or is there a time period in between that it would have to be reintroduced?
The proposal would have to again be brought to the NJSIAA prior to December of this year. So in theory, it could go for a vote every year that we wanted it to. But I guess like any political thing, democratic thing that happens on a scale such as this, things don't happen overnight. So understanding that this vote was to be for the implementation in 2028, that if it doesn't pass today, the earliest you're ever going to see a shot clock in boys high school lacrosse is March of 2029 at this point. So I don't know another way to emphasize just how important it is. And I'm hopeful that, if anybody out here is listening and you haven't yet contacted an athletic director or a superintendent and you have a cell phone number, get it done this morning, because there's no time left. Nova, what do you got on this?
No, I fully agree. We set our part with everything we're doing. Fingers crossed with everything for the vote. If it doesn't go through for whatever reason, we'll keep plugging through, and hopefully, one day it passes. I think we're confident that at some point down the line it will pass here. But it's not for the girls. It's basketball. It could not be. Basketball could not get it, and lacrosse could get it. So there's a lot, and vice versa. So there's a lot of different things in play there. But even reading some of the articles from NJ.com and things like that, I don't think the bigger media outlet, they are a bigger media outlet than us for sure. I don't think they're necessarily portraying it the right way. And again, I think they're waiting a little bit too late as well in this process.
Fingers crossed, boys. Fingers crossed. So our usual routine here as we take our look back, we'll look ahead. Only a couple of games to look ahead to this week. But we do have county tournament seedings that came out this week. So we're going to give you a little bit of a county preview. And we're going to take a look back at what was in the past week. And another very, very subpar week for you guys in the Pick'em, which is just becoming like routine here. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. In any event, let's look back. Let's start there. Okay. Tuesday, Westfield, Rumson. A result that I don't know that a lot of us saw coming. Rumson Fairhaven 17, Westfield 10. Tharpy, you watched this one. What did you see?
Yeah, I was really, really impressed with Rumson, both offensively and defensively. I was really surprised. I think Westfield is a team that's kind of built on reputation, and in general, is known of being pretty stout defensively. And I thought that Rumson was able to get to the gut of the defense at will, getting off really, really high quality shots. I was kind of surprised that Westfield didn't make a goalie switch at halftime. I didn't think the kid was playing, the goalie was playing like horrible, because he was getting shelled. But, it was one of those games where you felt like it just wasn't the goalie's day. But, they kept him in. And obviously, I know we're going to touch on him, but, they had a great result against Pinger yesterday. So good for Westfield. But, man, Rumson was just super, super impressive. I thought they did a D midi. I think he was number 6. I was really impressed with him, all over the field. But again, just offensively, able to score at will, really getting exactly where they wanted to on the field. So really impressive job by them. I thought they faced off, really well. And which makes their, they beat St. Joe's Metuchen in the middle of the week, only 8-6. So I was a little surprised, coming off that Westfield game. But, Nova's mentioned it before, and, Gil, we've all talked about these trap games, coming off the high of beating Westfield. Obviously, there was always going to be a big trap game against St. Joe's. So they got the job done. But overall, man, just really impressive by Rumson. Just really impressed with them offensively.
Next game that we had earmarked on the calendar here on Wednesday was a pretty anticipated matchup between Delbarton and Summit, and uncharacteristically, it did not live up to the billing. I was there, and Gil, I know you watched it as well. Delbarton 10 and Summit 3.
Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are as someone who was in person, but it was definitely uncharacteristic from Summit. I mean, undisciplined at times, it seemed. A lot of penalties that Delbarton capitalized on. Some shaky play in the middle of the field that Delbarton capitalized on, and we all could have seen this game going this way potentially. Like we know what Delbarton's capable of, and we knew they were going to bounce back at some point. And put up a good result, but we obviously thought Summit was where they should be, and we had them up at number 1 going into that, and again knew what Delbarton could do and come back and take that over, but it was uncharacteristic for sure from Summit. I'm curious what your thoughts are, Keith, being on site there.
I thought that Delbarton controlled the play at the center X, and they shared the ball well against the zone. They had a good plan. They moved. It seemed like they wanted to attack from the top of the zone. They moved the top of the zone, and where I was really impressed was with Fodor, because it seemed like they had a really good understanding of just how far he had to move the active player in the zone before he would throw back. And it seemed like his throwback pass to really get things moving offensively for them was right on time nearly the entire game. And then from there, you have good lacrosse players moving the ball, and you obviously have great defenders, and it becomes a game of slide recover, and Delbarton was just better, and quite frankly, quite a bit better. I didn't think the Summit goaltender played a very good game in terms of, maybe stopping some shots from the outside that he might otherwise, make. I think we've seen him make. But, it was just high level lacrosse. That's the best thing I could say for it. But
I mean, Delbarton had it kind of controlled from start to finish. There was never really a point that I thought Summit was going to get in control or stay in control even early.
There was one moment in the game, and it lasted about 35 seconds, where I said, okay, let's see. Summit probably, I cut it to maybe 4 or 3 at some point, maybe in the third quarter, and Kane Quinault won the faceoff, went down and fired a right-handed laser, and I said, well, that was that. Okay, yeah, that felt like the moment where it was maybe you had a chance and then now you don't, but that was that. Impressive from Delbarton, to say the least.
Yeah.
Moving on, also on Wednesday, another tight matchup down the shore. Southern Regional defeated Holmdel 6-5. Don Bosco really put a hurting on Ridgewood 13-3. And then Thursday, Shawnee in a matchup of South Jersey Powers 14 and Haddonfield 5. Also on Thursday, a game that was a pretty anticipated matchup, if only to see where Notre Dame was, and I think they lived up to the billing in a matchup with Bergen Catholic, even though they didn't win. Bergen Catholic 13, Notre Dame 11. Notre Dame was up in that game for most of it, and then Bergen came back to win that one. And then we moved to the weekend. Probably the most, outside of Delbarton and Summit, the most impressive result to me of the week. Shawnee 12, Scotch Plains 4. Don Bosco defeated Mountain Lakes 10-7. And then St. Augustine 11 and Gill St. Bernard's 5. Tharpy, I know you had eyes on that one.
Yeah, really, really just controlled win from St. Augustine. I thought the thing that really jumped out to me was their utter domination at the faceoff X. I think they were something like I think Gill's faceoff guy, who is very highly ranked, was something like 5 of 17, something along those lines. Pretty thoroughly dominated at the faceoff X. Um, St. Augustine was really peppering goalie Whiteley for Gill. I think he finished with 17 saves. So, it was a game that could have been even more stretched out. I think again, just St. Augustine is just super, super impressive defensively, hunting double teams. They see the back of the helmet, they're sliding with a purpose, they're super physical. And I think their goalie had a really good game. I think if you look at his stats, I think he's right around 50% on the season. But, when we talk about these things, it's like, when you play the schedule that St. Augustine does, you're not going to rack up, some of those, 14 save, 2 goals allowed type games. So I think he's a very talented goalie. I'm curious your guys' thoughts, in light of talking about the shot clock. So the game was played at Wagner, just over the border in New York, and it was played with the shot clock. I'm just curious your guys' thoughts on that. I know, my gut reaction was, Keith, to steal a phrase you've used with us before, like spirit of the rule. It's you went as just about as close as you could without being in New Jersey to play a game with a shot clock. But I'm curious what you guys thought about that game being played with a shot clock, considering it's 2 New Jersey teams.
Yeah, I mean, credit to those guys if that's what they want to do. Let them have it. I mean, I wish I knew that was the thing. Back when I was coaching, I would have done a lot of more games, just going right over the border to get some shot clock games, and no question about it. When I first heard it, it did feel a little bit weird. It wasn't like a tournament or a round robin festival where like that was like the kind of thing that was going on, just like a one-off game. But if both teams want to do it, I'm obviously going to be all for it. But yeah, it did seem a little weird at first.
I have no problem with it whatsoever. I mean, can't sit here on my throne of
Throwing a pro shot clock.
yeah, and then just be like, oh yeah, well, wait, I wouldn't manipulate the rule. Like, no. Yeah,
Again, I wish I knew about that. I could go over to New York and just play some shot clock games.
Is there anybody at the state level, Keith, that sees that and is like, what are they doing, or questions it, or looks into it, or is it just
I have no idea, and I want to thank Tharp for being the one to bring it to everybody's attention. So if somebody gets in trouble, we can place the blame squarely on him.
It was in the NJ.com article. It was very clearly written about with quotes from coaches. So I don't think I'm tattling on anybody. But it's like you said, Gil. It's like, what if Del Barton and Seton Hall played at Lafayette? Like that's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do think it opens the gate if this vote doesn't go through to next year. See some of these. Yeah, I think if Del Barton and Seton Hall Prep moved to Pennsylvania or Wagner or wherever and did that, it's a much bigger spectacle than Gill and St. Augustine. No offense to those guys, but it's not that rivalry. But yeah, it's going to open the gate if there is no shot clock next year to see some teams just hop over the border and do that. Which, if it becomes a trend, I'm sure somebody might say something about it. But I don't know.
And I'm not like, again, I'm not like hating on anybody. Anybody with a brain knows that Coach Collins at Gill is like the biggest opponent of the shot clock. Like we said, JC and St. Augustine have played, as much of an out of schedule as you could play. So like, I'm not hating on those guys. I just think I think it's just an interesting observation. Like, is this going to become the trend moving forward if the shot clock doesn't happen? Like, I was reading the NJ, it was NJ, whatever, some article, and the Bosco AD was quoted as saying like, nobody wants to come play here in New Jersey. We have to go to all these places. And I'm curious if like, Bosco, Dominican colleges, right over the border right there, like, is that how they're going to try and, cut down on travel or things like that? Like, some of these schools, a CBA, for example, do they hop over the bridge into PA to play, a neutral site game as a way to, not cut down on travel? I'm very curious because I do think that, like you said, Glock, like there's nothing wrong with this per se, right? Like if you litigated it, you're not playing in New Jersey, you're playing in out of state, you're playing in a state where the shot clock's allowed. It's just I'm just curious if, like like we said, is this the future of what teams are going to have to do in order to fulfill that desire to play those shot clock games?
We'll see. It I don't really want to comment on it because I don't know that what I said in our group chat remains the same. I don't know what the exact rule of this is. I know how it's been done, which lends us all to think we know what the rule is, but it's the same as, like, right now I feel like I'm a dad in the stands screaming at a ref because I think I know what the rules are because I've watched some games. Like I don't know, but it seems to
I'm
me
not
like it
being
would be
critical.
okay.
I'm just
Oh,
like,
no. I get it. It's just I don't want to weigh in on something and then have my words be held against me somehow down the line, or somebody gets mad that we're even talking about it. So I'm going to abstain, other than to say whatever it takes. Play with the shot clock. I'm in favor.
great. So I'm the one who's catching all the heat from this. Thanks,
It's
guys.
like going across the border in Pennsylvania to get fireworks back in the day,
Listen, man, you got to do what you got to do.
right?
Right?
Have a good
Celebration's
time.
a celebration.
To be clear, not being a hater, not being a tattletale, I just think it's worth talking about. Just want to be clear.
It's interesting.
PSA.
I'm not even going to say what I was going to say right there. So we're going to move on. Ocean City also this weekend defeated Southern in overtime, 8-7. Ocean City putting together another really, really solid campaign under head coach Joe Latore down there in the South Shore. Also on Saturday, Westfield bounced back, defeated Pingree 12-4, and Bridgewater 14, Glen Ridge 5. So a pretty spirited week of high school lacrosse in the rearview mirror. Let's talk about what we have coming up this week. Only a couple games that we have on the radar this week because things are going to start getting fluid with the county tournament schedules coming out. On Tuesday, though, Seton Hall Prep and St. Augustine will square off. And on Wednesday, Bridgewater Raritan and Rumson Fairhaven. Rumson, guys, feels to me like a team on the come. And I haven't. I watched that CBA game that they played, but I haven't watched them outside of that. But just seeing the results and seeing kind of where they're trending, they feel like things are looking up for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about there's definitely room for growth in net, but otherwise, they're super talented. I think like we said, the St. Joe's game in the middle of the week was the ultimate trap game. You beat Westfield, you got Bridgewater coming up. So we'll toss that one into the trap game, but they survived it. But yeah, I agree with you, Glock. I think that Rumson is definitely a team that's trending up.
I want to just a little interlude off of our rundown for this week. I just got very, very sad news for me personally. This is not going to be sad to anyone else because my dumbass spends way too much time looking at what the NCAA tournament bracket's going to be. That gets released as we record this at 9:06 p.m. It gets released in 25 minutes. And the updated RPI came out for today after the championship games were played. And it's nothing like so many things changed. All that work that I did, just throw it all in the trash. It's all gone. I'm so wrong with everything that I was talking about earlier today. So bad. All that time right in the trash.
You put some work into that, man. You put some work.
Every year I do it, and it's kind of fun. And I actually think I'm pissed off about it because looking at how things changed in the RPI from yesterday to today, it actually would have been a more of a fun venture to predict everything because it's a little more murky right now. I feel like Friday and Saturday things were a little more predictable. And right now, it's like, man, I just didn't see Princeton. Princeton's going to be the 1 seed. Is what I'm looking at right now.
Then who's it going to be? Is it going to be Duke, Maryland, Yale? Who's going to be sitting at home?
Yeah, it's an interesting world for everybody in the college lacrosse world. We'll get to that though. We'll call that a tease because we'll get to that in our stall warning. But let's talk county tournaments, guys. Let's talk Passaic first. West Milford is the top seed in the Passaic County tournament. Wayne Valley and then Wayne Hills. Those are the top 3. Hunterdon, Warren, Sussex. The semifinals. That's how they do the semifinals and finals. Sparta and Voorhees will take each other on, and then North Hunterdon and Warren Hills will play, and then obviously the winners of those games will meet in the Hunterdon Warren Sussex final. In the Essex County tournament, Montclair is the top seed. Glen Ridge at number 2.
Block.
What's up?
We just acknowledged North Hunterdon. They were the 7 seed. They upset the 2 seed Pope John in the quarterfinals. Big result in the Hunterdon Warren Sussex tournament. So congrats to those guys. I know that was a huge result for them, the 7 over the 2.
Listen, sometimes when you're a coaching staff and you just inherit a dumpster fire from the previous coach, you come in and you just get business done. And
I have a history of that, apparently.
It's what happens sometimes, Credit to those guys. Montclair is the top seed in the Essex County tournament. Glen Ridge is the number 2 seed. Caldwell will be the 3rd seed. Verona, number 4, and MKA, the 5. And in Bergen County, Ridgewood gets the top seed. Don Bosco slots in at number 2. Bergen Catholic at 3. Ramapo at 4. St. Joe's Regional at 5. And Northern Highlands is the 6th seed. The top 3 seeds in the Union County tournament: Summit number 1, Scotch Plains number 2, and Westfield number 3. And the Morris County tournament: Delbarton number 1, Chatham number 2, West Morris the number 3 seed. Madison comes in with the 4 seed. Mountain Lakes is the number 5 seed, and Randolph is the number 6 seed. Did we not get Shore rankings yet, guys?
Not yet.
No, they're still going. They're like the last conference that always plays.
Okay, so
they played the last week of the
playoffs.
Yeah, no short.
Also, I don't know. I don't know if we mentioned it today. I don't think we did. But Seton Hall not partaking in the county tournament this year. I mean, we all knew about that privately for a while now, but it's clearly public knowledge now that they've decided not to partake in the county tournament.
Yeah, I think that's it's big news. Obviously, it's kind of cool that someone new is going to get to win it. I guess if you're like, if you think that way. But I'm curious what obviously those are most of the big guys besides Somerset and Shore Conference. What kind of stands out to you guys for those county tournaments?
Essex is wide open. Obviously, we just mentioned. Montclair being the one. Like, there's a couple sub 500 teams at the top there that are obviously very competitive and play difficult schedules, but it's just all the way down that line. I think anybody can compete there. I think Bergen's going to be absolutely crazy to watch. Like, looking at Highlands being the 6, having a win over Bosco already, and St. Joe's Regional is competitive. Ramapos has wins over top teams. Like, it's again kind of anyone's game there in Bergen. I think Morris is interesting. Like, I could see upsets in, I guess it would be the quarterfinals. Like, I could see Randolph knocking off West Morris potentially. Lake's getting a rematch with Madison as the underdog, or as the 5 playing the 4 there. I think it ultimately comes down to Delbarton and Chatham, which I think is going to be a great game. But definitely some interesting early round games there. And Union's just going to be insane, I think. But a couple of fun games to watch there at the top.
No, you got any high level thoughts?
No, you guys both
None of my
said enough there.
By the way,
I'll just repeat what you guys are saying.
What'd you say?
I would just be repeating what you guys are saying.
No, I thought Gil was saying something.
I said none of my thoughts were high level, by the way. They were just very surface level, obvious statements. But
Well, I think it's funny because like Morris County is like those are six really, really great teams, but it's like if it's not Chatham versus Del Barton, like that'll be super stunning. So it's like
Well,
no matter how good that 1 through 6 is, you know what I mean?
crazy thing to me is I could see Randolph beating West Morris, 'cause that's what it would be, right? 6 versus 3, right?
Yeah.
I could see Randolph beating West Morris, but I could also see West Morris beating Chatham in the semifinals if it got to it. Just from like Chatham's shown that they falter a little bit here or there. I think I expect them to be in the championship, but just saying that parity a little bit down the line. You can see Randolph upsetting West Morris. I could see West Morris upsetting Chatham. It's
I
it's
just
an
think
interesting fluid game.
West Morris just has such a face-off advantage. Like Randolph, and I only know this because I just
Randolph's not going to win a face-off that game.
yeah, like Randolph's because they're like 50% for the year facing off, so it's interesting because it's like,
Yeah.
but I mean Randolph is crazy talented. I just been watching them on film because they're playing an opponent we
Well,
got tomorrow. But
that's where you could see West Morris beating Chatham potentially if they can really control the X
Mm-hmm.
and capitalize on it like they've done some games
yeah,
against teams of that nature, and Chatham having some close ones with teams they shouldn't be necessarily. Again, I expect Chatham to be there with Delby at the end, but just some interesting early round games there that makes it fun to watch.
who do you? I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna happen this week. So if I'm early, I apologize. But who do you think gets the rematch between Scotch Plains and Westfield?
It's a good question. They both just suffered some tough losses. I mean, Westfield needed that Pingree win bad. I mean, they were on a 3-game skid there. And that was a good win, but I think the Rumson loss was more alarming than the Pingree win was.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully
Positive,
Westfield's
I don't
back
know.
and everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
So we get best on best because I know Westfield has definitely been being dinged up, especially on the defense side of the ball.
Yeah, if
recently.
Westfield's healthy, I would say, talking to my guys over there, they're gonna want that one bad. So it's gonna be I could see them coming out with that one, but
So
you never know.
the
Scotch Plains is still playing
semifinal.
really, really well.
So the semifinals Thursday and the finals Saturday. So I guess we can talk about that quick. So you think Dugfield might get it back?
Again, I don't know their injury status across the board, but if they are healthy, I could definitely see them coming up with that one.
Yeah, that's good.
I
That's
think
good for sure.
I think I could see Scotch Plains beating Westfield again, but I don't think I could. I think Summit beats them by a wider margin this time, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Fair as well, for sure.
Could see that.
On another side note, let's get a little the charter. I mean, Rutgers Prep, first win ever over a Ridge, correct?
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, it was big one.
Congrats, my
Yeah, it
man.
was yeah, I mean it's a testament to the kids and they're playing really well
I
and
just want to say congrats. We don't need a whole lecture. Okay, next.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Also,
Hey, you can catch Rutgers Prep tomorrow on Big State Sports.
I don't know if anybody's
Oh, I
watching
will. I will.
the women's tournament seeding. Rutgers is playing Princeton women's first round.
Oh, okay. Are you rah rah?
All right, we'll take it. We'll take it. We touched on it before. Your general mediocrity in your pick'ems, boys. 2 and 3 for each of you last week. You're both 18 and 9. It's not even like I'm throwing out games to you that you then have to like randomly pick without having thought about them. Like you're selecting the games you're picking.
Hold on, I am not.
Well, you get to look at them in advance. Tharp picks. Tharp, you really have no excuse. You're the one that creates these matchups, and you're still just throwing out mediocre numbers week after week.
So this is the best we've ever done in pick'em. The fact that we're 18 and 9 at this point, this is incredible for us.
This is just mediocrity at its
But
best.
this is what's been what's been fun though in seriousness is trying to pick games that are more competitive. And I apologize. I feel like we've not touched on the more random teams this year. And again, I apologize, but I do think it's like
I think we've hit
the
some pretty good
reason.
ones, Billy.
Yeah, like I feel like we've really using lax numbers to try and find games that are, a little more competitive to truly make it a toss. I mean, Gil's not coaching this year, but he kind of has an idea, and like I feel like I'm, neck deep in my particular opponents. So even though I feel like I have a decent idea, like a lot of these games we're both totally blind. So, I don't know, it's fun. I do miss having Tony around, though, I will say.
I do miss it as well.
Well, on to this week's dose of mediocrity. As the first game that you guys are going to pick, Bishop Eustace and Rancocas Valley. I've made a unilateral decision that Tharp, since you're the one that is the architect of said mediocrity, you get to pick first this week.
Last week was a tough week for the public schools, so I'm going to stay public this week and pick Rancocas Valley.
Gilberto?
I'm gonna keep the private school dominance going. We haven't touched on that a lot, by the way, tonight, but I think bad week overall for North Jersey public schools, losing to some privates and losing to some South Jersey teams that may have had some not so nice talk about in the past about South Jersey lacrosse. So props to those guys for getting it done. But speaking about some South Jersey private school lacrosse, I'm gonna go with my boys at Bishop Eustace. Coach Klitschko, Garden State Cup dog. He's gonna get it done.
All right. Toms River South taking on Jackson. Gil, you go first.
I think in my research, these teams have not played before, or recently at least. But again, on my little research I did, I'm going to go with Jackson.
Bill?
When in doubt, you go directional. Give me Tom's River South.
Oh God, East Tennessee State Western. That's you're going with all the time. Bridgewater and Rumson are the next game in our pick'em. And Tharp, lead us off.
Shoot, man. Well, I've been told I'm the guy that's got the Skyline Conference shoved so far up my ass I can't see. So I'm gonna ride or die with my boys in the Skyline. Give me Bridgewater.
And Gil?
This is a big week, Tharp, because we're already going to be three separate picks. I'm going to ride the hot hand of Rumson, 17 goals against Westfield. I think they come back with another strong offensive performance against BR, and going to ride some South Jersey wave here.
This is starting to be an absolute disaster for me. I can already see it.
Good
Or
work.
we both somehow end up going 2-3 again.
Seton Hall Prep, the Pirates and the Hermits take on St. Augustine. Gil?
Is this me?
It is.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride the South Jersey wave some more. I'm gonna go with my boy JC and the Augies.
Therapy?
Man, this is so hard.
Do it.
I'm not even doing this for the bit. I think the waves are blue. I might go Pirates.
Wow.
Screw it. Go Seton Hall. Seton Hall. Go. Coach Stockel. Shout out Coach Stockel. Go Pirates.
Okay. Good for you. And our last game of the week, Mo Beard takes on Milburn. Tharp.
I'm gonna go private this time. Give me Mo Beard. Coach Manita doing great things over there.
And Gil?
Do it.
I want to keep it all separate, but I already had Mo Beard picked in my head. Yeah, I'm not gonna let you peer pressure me out of that. I'm gonna go with Mo Beard.
Damn, this week could have been a catastrophe.
Could have.
Oh, goodness gracious. I can't wait to see both of you go 1-4 this week. If that's even possible. I don't know.
I don't think that's possible, but we'll see.
Whatever.
Definitely not
Figure
possible.
it out. It'd be us.
All right, let's move on to our top 20. I know that, as we've said, the bottom half, or the bottom quarter, I should say, of the top 20 is a veritable grab bag, seemingly week in and week out at this point. Notre Dame down to number 20 from number 18, and then 3 unranked teams make it into the top 15. Randolph comes in after being unranked at number 19. Ramapo back in the poll at number 18. Mountain Lakes drops 2 spots to 19. Bergen Catholic back in the top 20 after being unranked last week at 16. And CBA moves up a spot to 15. And then the next segment of the top 20 is teams that are some fallers compared to last week. Gill comes in at number 14, down a spot. West Morris moves down also 1 spot to 13. Bridgewater down a spot to 12. And Westfield drops 2 spots to number 11. Rumson Fairhaven comes in at number 10. They move up from 14. Guys, give us your take on the bottom half of the top 20 this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's par for the course. They're just can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. We all have some conflicting views for the. I think last week it was maybe the bottom 3 spots. I think this week was the bottom 2 spots. So maybe we're moving a little bit in the right direction, but there's probably 6, 7 teams that we all have between the 3 of us that could go and fill in any of those last 2 spots. And there's a million different reasons why those bottom 2 teams should not be where they are, and there's a million of the same reasons why the other teams that would be in their slot should also not be in those bottom 2 slots as well. So it's pretty much shooting fish in a barrel of what you want to do. We just need teams in that back half right there and those bottom few spots just to continue to win games, and will take care of themselves. But just teams have not been able to consistently do that week in and week out.
Well, I think this was maybe the first time ever that we were identical 1 through 15, almost 1 through 17. I think I had 16 and 17 flipped from you guys, and it easily could have been the other way around. But so we were almost 17 spots straight identical. But yeah, those back 3 are just 2 or 3. Yeah, 3. It's, I don't know. There's so many teams that could be there. Last week was more like a case, like I said last time, there's more of a case against these teams for being in than for being in. But now we're starting to see, all right, these teams got some wins, they're doing some good things. I think it's just what each of us value is a little bit different, which is why we do this, and the math ends up working out and we average it out and all good. But we talk about good wins versus good losses versus bad wins, or a one-off bad loss, but they've had some good wins, and it's just that balancing act of what matters to you, Bill, or you, Anthony, or me, and it all ends up coming together. But we end up debating. We don't have a lot to debate now, as we once did in the top 15, but so all of our focus goes to that like 19, 20 spot of what do you value and who should be there. And I know we got into a little bit earlier today about that. And then we realized we're talking about a 20 spot that could be a lot of different teams.
I think my biggest problem is, like, sometimes, and I do this too, so this is not like a shot at you guys. Like, I think like sometimes we play in this land of hypotheticals and then we're like in reality. And I think, for me, like my biggest gripe is, like, I think Notre Dame is super talented. Nobody's beat their chest louder for them than me. But, right now, like, black and white resume, like their best win all season is the 50th ranked team on lax numbers. And yeah, they had a pretty competitive loss to St. Augustine, and they lost to Hun by a goal and whatever. But like, I for me it came down to like Pingree, Ocean City, and Randolph, basically. So for me personally, I went Ocean City 19, Pingree 20, Randolph 21, like just barely not in. And I think for me, like where I think this is like, I hate to use the word unfair because it sounds childish about like some poll that we're doing, but like I feel like it's unfair to Pingree that you guys are totally removing them when you can listen. You can say Pingree doesn't blow anybody out. Like their best win of the season happened, a month and a half ago, and that's fine. And I have no counter that. But at the end of the day, like Pingree's wins against Bridgewater and Bernards and Ridge and St. Joe's Metuchen are all better than anything Notre Dame's done this season. And like you might say that, okay, well, Notre Dame's won, they blow out the teams, but I think if Notre Dame, excuse me, I think if Pingree was playing some of those lower tier CVC schools, again, no disrespect to those guys, but I think Pingree would be able to hang 17 on some of those schools too. And I think that, you guys are like just so anti Pingree sometimes that it's like you
Well,
can't
Bill,
see
that's not true.
like
That's
through
not
the
true.
through the weeds with it.
Just stop for a second, because I'm gonna let Anthony talk in a second too, because I know he has a lot to say. But like you talk about like best win 50, but then you spout out Bernards and Ridge as good wins for Pingree, who are
Oh
42nd
no, they're
and
not good
50th.
wins, but they're better than the 50th win on Lax numbers.
Ridge is 50.
Right, but I'm saying, but Bernards, St. Joe's Metuchen, Bridgewater, they're not. They're above 50.
Yeah,
They're
that's fine.
they're all their wins are better than the 50th. Like that's Notre Dame's best win. That's
Okay.
it. Like you,
That's all fair and good. Who has a better strength of schedule?
I'm assuming you're going to say Notre Dame, but I
Notre
don't. I
Dame's
don't.
schedule is harder by the numbers than Pingree is. So you can say what they're saying about the teams, but they have a better strength of schedule. They're beating the teams by a lot that they're supposed to be beating from. So that's pretty much, again, Pingree has the lowest strength of schedule in the top, I think top 50. As we went through the schedule, again, that might change a little bit for sure because they obviously just play Westfield, who definitely will bump that strength of schedule up. But where it stands right now, while we're doing the rankings, it doesn't get updated for those Saturday games. So that's kind of where our decisions ultimately kind of came from. And a first win overtime game in the very beginning of the season is tough. Again, I have Pingree, ultimately pretty much in my 20th spot. So, I don't think they're necessarily down and out, but based on where other people I wanted to rank them, that's why they're, not where they're at. But I don't think we can say that, the strength of schedule and all that stuff is kind of different. Like we need to see them play somebody again because their strength of schedule has been so low. They haven't necessarily blown those teams out. That's why they're like 30 in lax numbers. They're not even, top 25, near the top 20. They're 30th, I believe. Yep, 30th in lax numbers. So there's a ton of teams that are above them that also have great resumes, and they had an opportunity, to play a team that was in our top 20, very good outside of their very first game of the season where they couldn't scout, do all that stuff, and they got, kind of blown out. And, that's kind of where we kind of lie. I think me and Gil, when we kind of went through our processes here, in that
I
regard.
mean, but like Pingree's strength of schedule right now is 81.32. Notre Dame's is 81.6. Randolph's 82. Like we're talking about like fractions of a point that, like you said, won't be
Yeah, but we
updated
still
until
talk about
after.
like I
Won't,
personally, and this is me personally, I value the lax number math a little bit, and not 1 through 20. I'm not using that to rank my top 20, but I'm going to look at it in reference to my rankings later in the season. And Pingree's been like, this is like the highest they've been at 30 all season. Which, and again, the game yesterday didn't, or Saturday doesn't add into that yet, and that's going to drop them a little bit. But either way, this is the highest they've been. And I'm looking at teams like Notre Dame, who, yes, strength of schedule is similar, a little bit tougher, but they're taking care of their games as they should, and they're getting the adequate math for that,
I mean,
in
it's
their
kind of the same
rating,
reason
which
why we don't
again
have
we all
Kingsway
value,
ranked
and
right
we've all
now.
talked about the power of lax numbers and why we like it, and all that good stuff. They
I would
haven't
I,
played. Well,
I
go
would
ahead, Bill.
say just like this, like looking at, so like let's say that the schools that are kind of comparable, right? And they're probably like Immaculata, Watchung Hills, Somerville, right? They're all, you would say they're in the Skyline right now. They're a little weaker, right? They Pingree beat Immaculata 13-3. They beat Watchung 17-2. They beat Somerville 12-3. So like that's comparable to Notre Dame beating Lawrence 16-2 or West Windsor, you know what I mean? Like Pingree's beating the same, like the comparable teams by the same score. But Notre Dame has 10 of those teams, Pingree has 3 of them. Like if you know what I'm saying?
If that was the case, then their strength of schedule would be higher. That's not the case.
But what I'm
You're
saying
picking,
is
you're like hand
Notre
picking
Dame.
games, and you're not
No,
doing
but
the totality of the
listen, I'm not.
schedule.
Notre Dame is boosted because they've played St. Augustine, Bergen Catholic, and Hun. I'm not discrediting that. That is 100% why their strength of the schedule is higher right now. But they lost all three of those games. Like that's why they're higher. Their strength of the schedule is
Yes, and
like
so
0.03 higher. Like it's not like it's 85 compared to 80 to 78. It's like 81.6 compared to 81.3. So like I'm not seeing the like, and again, like we're basing this off of like who they've beaten. Like, and again, if your best win is the 50th team in New Jersey, I don't see that as like rankable right now. And again, like I honestly like again, I think that like Ocean City and like Ocean City might even have a better argument than Pingree. But like I just think that I'm really struggling to see where like Notre Dame, being rankable right now. Like it's like yes, you're crushing the teams you're supposed to crush. I 100% acknowledge that. But at the end of the day, it's like you've said this a million times and I believe it. If Pingree played that same schedule, they might not hang 20 on everybody because that's just not what Coach Webster does, but they might hang 15, 16, 17 on those same exact teams. That's my point.
yeah, but at the same point, are you telling me Pingree going to beat St. Augustine?
No, but would they be a similar score to Notre Dame?
But exactly, we're talking about one spot now. We're talking about one spot. So what's the difference? A hypothetical of them. It's not like we have Notre Dame in the 15th spot and Pinger on the way out. We're talking about like literally the final spot here, but splitting
Yeah,
hairs, and
literally,
that's what we're
this is
talking about
one
right now. Is
spot.
hairs. So I think it can go, kind of either way, and I think we just need to see a little bit more. From Pinger again. I had them in my top 20. So again, the justification really isn't there. I just had Notre Dame, one spot more, and I didn't have Ocean City or Northern Highlands in my listing compared to you guys.
Okay.
Me too.
And with that, can we move on to the top 10 now, or are you still have things to say,
Sounds
Tharpy?
boring, Keith. We all agreed on that.
Okay. Sorry about that, I guess, but I still feel like, maybe they deserve some flowers, as we like to
They
say
do.
in
They
2026.
do.
Number 9, Ridgewood drops 3 spots from number 6 last week. Scotch Plains down to number 8. Chatham comes in at number 7. Shawnee at number 6. Don Bosco at 5. Seton Hall Prep stands pat at number 4. Summit drops from number 1 to number 3 by virtue of that loss to Del Barton. Del Barton comes in at number 2. And finally, despite all of you guys just ignoring the success for the duration of the season thus far, you finally decided to put St. Augustine in the top spot for the first time all year. What do you
I've
have to
had
say
them
for
there 3
yourselves?
weeks, I think.
But this is about us, Gil. It's not about you.
Just
Okay?
Yeah, I've had them there flip flopping a little bit. But no, yeah. Then Nobarton goes out today and destroys Chaminade 15-5, and I am certainly rethinking myself now. The barn is on a little bit of a bender right now. After that, that's an impressive victory. So those teams play in a few weeks here before the playoffs start. So we'll get a little glimpse if they even decide to kind of go forward as they are predicted to be the number 1 and number 2 seed. I would assume come playoff time.
I really wasn't even trying to be contrarian, but I did almost consider not putting St. Augustine 1. And my reasoning behind it still, I ultimately did. We all did. But my ultimately, I still think what so much of what St. Augustine has done has been a lot of really strong out of state results. Their best wins in state are now Gil St. Bernard's, who we have at around 14, and Haddonfield, and well, I guess Notre Dame that we still have ranked. So like, but as compared to Del Barton and Summit and even Seton Hall, um, they've accomplished a lot more in state. So for me, I actually sat there for longer than I'd like to admit, and was like, man, am I really going to put Del Barton number 1 again and leave St. Augustine at 2? At the end of the day, I thought that it was, it's going to play itself out, so it doesn't, but I did think long and hard, about, what they've accomplished in state, and at the end of the day, Like you said, we'll find out this week, for sure. But it was a tougher decision for me, and I think we talked about it a little bit in the group. It was a bit of a tougher decision than I thought it would be. It's like the number one team loses, number two obviously moves up, but when you look at the whole picture, it was kind of a tough decision.
We
I'm
all talked
agreeing
about
on
it.
you
We were
there.
like, what if?
Sorry, you can go first. You can go first. Go.
No, I was just gonna say, we all talked about, I think beforehand, if Del Barton beat Summit, I think I asked you guys, are we gonna, is Augie's gonna just stay at 2, or just gonna keep flipping 1 and 3 around them? And it's like, at what point do they deserve to bump up? And I agree with you, Bill. I think it is, we don't have the same look at them as we do Del Barton and Summit and these other teams at the top, even Bosco and Chatham and and Seton Hall Prep, obviously, with the in-state games. But that's why I think this week is so interesting with them and Seton Hall Prep, to really see Seton Hall Prep's on the rise. So like they're kind of peaking. If Augie's is getting them at their best, if they can win that game at all, 1 goal, 2 goal, whatever it is, that'll just confirm that we all had it right this week. But at the same point, I could definitely see Seton Hall Prep, continuing that rise, and maybe Augie showing true colors for, something we haven't seen in state yet. But either way, what I've seen on tape of them is impressive, and watching them against Notre Dame, who was high powered and came out strong against them, and then they just put it down on them for 3.5 quarters or whatever it was, 3 quarters, and just really impressive, up and down the field no matter what. So they passed the eye test for sure in the short window that I've been able to see them. But it is going to be a really interesting battle this week.
Del Barton definitely has the best case. Can fully acknowledge that. But as both gentlemen have already stated, I think it was just St. Augustine's time who was buying their time, doing what they need to be doing to get their shot in the number one spotlight. And then kind of, for me, the biggest difference was kind of looking ahead, like, oh, they literally have Seton Hall, the one team Del Barton lost to. Like, if they can go out there, beat Seton Hall, it's a little bit of a much easier case. Okay, well, yep, they're the number one team right now. They just beat the team that are, who would be our other, one we're debating, fair and square. And if they lose, then it's an easy choice there, easy decision going forward. Del Barton goes back to 1, and we would go and coast off from the sunset, in that battle, and wait for that St. Augustine Del Barton battle in a few weeks here. But that's kind of where my thought process goes. Again, on paper, Del Barton, I think resume in state is second to none. But that's, Summit obviously is right up there in terms of their resume, what they've done. But other than that, I think it was just St. Augustine's time. They did what they need to be doing. You play the schedule that you have. They've been taking care of business, and they're going to get the real shot this week in a game that matters. It's not past the cutoff and all that good stuff. So it's going to be best on best.
Well, we are officially into the month of May, and that means obviously we're hitting county tournament time in high school and firmly into now the second half of the season. And that means the NCAA tournament is about to begin as well after conference championships wrapped up today. Easy for me to say. So this week's stall warning, we're going to go with some low-hanging fruit. As I noted off the air before, I'm going to say it now. We are some basic bitches with this stall warning this week. And that is going to be, you all get to pick your NCAA champion and make a prediction. I will abstain from making a prediction on this in this podcast. But I throw it out to you, boys. And by the way, I don't know if you're watching the selection show. If you look at the timestamp of the updated set of predictions that I sent you all right before this thing started, I'm right on the money here, baby. Maybe the matchups where everybody's going. I did that I feel much better about myself right now. But anyway,
as we're doing our pod, you're deep in RPIs. Love it.
I'm a multitasker at heart. Okay, that's what I do. So you know what, Nova, I'll throw it to you for who's going to win the NCAA tournament.
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of deserving teams. I think any team can go on a run here. I think there's definitely a lot of parity. It's not as black and white. Love what Princeton's doing. I would love for Richmond to win the whole thing. But I'm going to go with a little bit of Virginia, who just won the ACC. I think it's all about when you get hot at the right time. They started off their season pretty bad. Everyone's asking for the head coach to be fired. And then all of a sudden, what do you know? A couple months later, they're win the ACC championship game in the easy form. So I think they're just playing at a high level right now. And you got to be playing your best cross now, and that's what they're doing.
Gil, what about you?
I like that pick. I was always a UVA fan, but it's not fun picking a 1 seed. I was looking at them as the 2 when I was looking before, but I love what Coach Madelon's been doing. I met him when he was an assistant at Stevens Tech for Coach Peluso, and he was always just a great guy. From the beginning, from his D3 days on, he's been the same guy, same character, same great coach, and just to see him rise through the ranks and be the offensive coordinator there for a few years and then be able to take over and turn it into his program and what he's built there now is awesome to watch. So I'm going to go with Princeton, pulling for him, pulling for Jersey School, and just a great story.
Darp?
I'm disappointed to say I haven't watched a ton of D1 lacrosse this year. So I have a core memory of mine is going to the Final Four of the year. It was in Philly, and going to the national championship with my then girlfriend, my now wife, and UNC won the national championship in that insane game versus Maryland. Chris Cloutier with the game-winning goal. I don't know why I remember that so clearly, but that was a cool memory. And I'm gonna pick UNC because why the heck not?
Okay.
Why the heck not?
Billy Bitter there at the time?
No, that was after his time.
Okay.
I just remember Chris Cloutier just dropped like 15 goals Final Four weekend. It was insane.
I haven't sent a Billy Bitter pick in a while.
Yeah. Give me Don Petramala and Owen Duffy. Right? Those Pats they're doing their thing, right? I feel like Bresci's do.
For those who
He's
don't
like
know, when Bill gets upset in our text group, he becomes Billy Bitter. So I don't even respond with words. I just send a picture of the great Billy Bitter.
I'm glad you explained it so I don't have to. It's a good job.
Steven Pontrello was on that team, right? Wasn't he on the national championship team?
He was.
Prior to St. Augustine. Some Jersey ties.
Want a fun fact? I coached Steven Pontrello with Don Green before Steven got to high school in a South Jersey. I mean, what the hell we were playing in. And Don was like, hey, you want to go coach this thing with me? I said, sure. It's the last time I coached anything.
That Play City.
Probably why he was so good.
It's obvious.
Did they have a great inbounds play? Keith Glock's the master of the inbounds plays. If you're ever looking for free advice,
you should score on them. That's what my advice is. Score off the inbound play.
Every time we're in practice and we're like practicing like a situation like that, I just sit there and think, if we do this, would Glock make fun of us?
I'm glad that I'm there for you.
I think about Glock on the lacrosse field more than I care to admit.
Glad I motivate you.
Just don't call a timeout, draw a play up, and within 2 passes, you throw the ball out of bounds.
I do hope you think. I do hope you think of me every time that happens. I want you to know that. It's like, oh, Glock would be chirping me so hard right now.
Well, it's just like normally, it's just like something happens. I'm like, man, what would Glock do in this moment? He'd be like, play the next whistle. Like, all right.
I gotta tell you, I got chirped pretty good yesterday. A dad made me laugh, and it was like it's not anything super creative, but like it was like kind of I think it was just a turnover or something. I didn't throw a flag or anything like that, and the wasn't super loud, and he screamed pretty loud, so everybody in the place heard it. And he said, "They already have a 13 on their team. They don't need your help too." And I thought that was pretty funny. So good timing out of that guy, whoever you are. I appreciate it.
You're on the money so far.
Yeah? Am I still good?
So far.
Okay. All right, we'll see how it works out. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast. We're in the thick of it with you here, everybody, and we're going to take you all the way through May into June through the Cursed Cup as we lead into the Garden State Cup in the summer, which you didn't plug this week, Gil.
We'll give
That's
people
what
a
we gotta
break.
do
They
our
know
Mike
what's going
Up
on. It's
segment.
coming up. It's coming quick. I can't believe it's May already. It's flying by. But tryouts coming up in June. Get ready.
No doubt about it. We'll see you guys on the other side. Have a great lacrosse-filled week in the state of New Jersey. We will see you next week.